I'm here to talk about what you need to become a sex therapist. There's a lot of information out there. My goal today is to give you the least amount of steps, the least amount of money to spend in becoming a sex therapist. But I'll definitely go over what you need and the different pathways and which one is less expensive, and also the pros and cons of being a sex therapist or calling yourself a sex therapist. The way I became a sex therapist was that I got a degree in marriage and family therapy. I got licensed. I then got a PhD, but you don't need a PhD to be a sex therapist. And then after I got my master's in marriage and family therapy, then the question is, can I just call myself a sex therapist? And that's it. There's different approaches to this, but the thing is, you want to practice with competency. That's one of our kind of like gold standards or moral ethics. You want to make sure you're practicing in a competent way. I mean, that is the rule. So if you're going to be a sex therapist and you haven't had any training in sex therapy, or you haven't read anything on sex therapy, or you haven't had any experience with sex therapy, then that doesn't really put you equipped to do sex therapy with just a marriage and family therapy license. Although in your program, you may have had courses on sex therapy. And it depends on what type of sex therapy too, because most of the sex therapy I got in graduate school was just like biological and maybe some political activism around gender and sexuality and all that type of stuff, but no direction as to how do we actually do this in the therapy room. So there's that. To be fair, most of what sex therapy is couples therapy. So when you go to a program like marriage and family and couples therapy, then you're sure to get a lot of information as to how to do therapy with multiple people. So I needed to, learn sex therapy on my own, really, because I wasn't taught. I read a whole bunch of books, and then I also taught. I created this program at Lewis and Clark College for students, and it was a sex therapy track, so it was focused on sex therapy, and I had done my dissertation on sex therapy, so I had a lot of knowledge around sexuality. Hence, I went out and started to see people as a marriage and family therapist with the concentration in sex therapy. That is definitely one way to go. Some people like to be certified by ASECT mostly, but the thing about that is that it costs more money. But the good thing about that is that some people might trust you more, and some people might find you easier too. So you have to kind of weigh the pros and cons of that. So either, spending more time and more money and more frustration on getting certified by an organization like ASEC, or to do your due diligence as to learn how to effectively provide sex therapy to clients. So you can go either way. And also, there are different ways to be certified. You can be certified as a sex therapist, as a sex counselor, as a sex coach, and as a sexologist. And each one of those certifications require different things. It depends on what's going to be easier given your resume, which one is going to be easier for you to get. But you can practice with any one of those. I don't think a client will be able to tell the difference between a sex counselor and a sex therapist, or a sexologist or a sex coach. That's not going to be why they choose you. So I'll go over the cost right now. For ASEC, the total cost is about $12,000. For the American College of Sexologists, it's about $12,300. For the World Association of Sex Coaches, it's about $16,000. For the American Board of Sexology, it's $169,000. So that's a big difference as far as certifications and what the costs are. I'll leave a link for each one of those so you can check them out and decide which way you want to go with this if you want to become certified. That's the other one. If you want to become certified, these are the ways to do it, and those are the costs. But if you don't want to be certified or don't need to be certified, then you can just go and make sure that you understand how to do sex therapy. The reasons to become certified is because, like I said, people can find you because each one of these associations has a list of therapists, and so people look on those websites and find you through there. It also gives you a potential link to your website, so all that is good. Another reason why you might want to get certified is because people might trust you more. But in reality, I don't think most people know what exactly it is to be certified by any one of these bodies. So it doesn't really matter which body you get it from, but so then you can call yourself a sexologist or a sex therapist. So what's the pathway? You have to get a bachelor's, then you have to get a master's either in counseling or marriage and family therapy or even social work. Then you have to get your license. Once you get your license, you can decide whether you want to be certified or not certified. There are many programs that give you ASIC certified courses, including on my website. You want to choose carefully because some of these programs are like an all-in-one package where you just go through their, I don't know, maybe 2-year program and then you become certified automatically. Or they have separate courses that you can take for CE credit for ASIC to become a sex therapist. You just want to make sure that the money makes sense to you. And then another thing about becoming certified is that I think you need like a year supervision. And I think the supervision hour is at $200 an hour right now. So what's the difference between a sexologist and a therapist? There really isn't a difference. They're just different paths to the same place. Whichever sounds better to you or whichever is easier or cheaper to go, you can go that way. You still need a master's in some counseling program. If I were to do it over again, because I am ASIC certified for education, so what I'm doing right now, but I am not ASIC certified to be a sex therapist, even though I've been a sex therapist for many, many years and continue to practice, presently practicing as a sex therapist. My whole practice is sex therapy. But, I was in a position where I had already got my PhD. I had had tons of years of experience doing therapy, and they wanted me to go through the whole process of getting supervision again. I hadn't had supervision like in 5 years or more than that, 10 years. And then they wanted me to take more courses where I already had a strong background in sexuality. And hence, I just couldn't go back to supervision. I hated every minute of supervision I've ever had. So I didn't want to go through that again and have somebody tell me, because that's sometimes the way it goes, how to do therapy when, up until now, I've had to learn everything on my own. And that sounds really jaded. And I'm sure most of you have had other experiences and you're different people, but for me, it doesn't work. So that's why I decided not to do it. However, at least I have an ASIC certified in education. So that does give me some clout, right? That people see that I am ASIC certified in education, but I'm still ASIC certified. So I think if I wouldn't have gone down the route of ASIC certified as far as an educator, I would have definitely probably done the sex certification with ASIC, because I even have some people ask me if I'm ASIC certified. So that's interesting to me because people actually know about ASIC. I thought, only sex therapists knew about it, but I guess it's becoming more and more well known. Now, why would you become a sex therapist? The reasons are multiple. One of them, it could be that you're just interested in it. So that's good. The other one is that you want to create a niche, and sex therapy is a good niche because a lot of people will run to get their sex life fixed before probably they run to get anything else fixed. So it is something that people look for a lot. And also, when you're dealing with sexuality, you really, if you like challenging notions of love and sex and all those expectations and kind of liberating people, that sounds so awful. I hate to use that word, like just helping people feel validated and empowered. Another word I hate to use, and given a sense of agency around their sexuality. So it frees them to be who they are sexually. That's a cool thing. That's another reason. And also sexuality can present with some taboos that we don't talk to with people normally. And so maybe, I don't know, that's exciting for you to talk about things that are normally not talked about. I think the other reason you want to become a sex therapist is because you do actually can charge a little bit more because you're specialized in a certain area. So the more specialized you are in a certain area, the more you can charge, the more people trust you because you have this expertise. Because if you had like an adolescent that was suffering from depression, you would probably go with the therapist that's focused on adolescent depression. Because we think, if somebody is specializing in a particular area, they have studied this, they have experience with it, and hence I'm not going to waste my time. This is where I'm going to go and feel secure that I'm going to get the outcome that I'm looking for. The bad thing about being a sex therapist, but this depends on the person too. For me, like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a therapist. What kind of therapist? Oh, sex therapy. And right away, the energy changes. And then I get people asking me for advice all the time on relationships and sex therapy. And I don't know. I just want to hide. I don't want to talk more about therapy or do more therapy when I'm not in the therapy room. It's enough doing it in the therapy room. I don't need any more of it. And then there's some stigma like, oh, if you're a sex therapist, you're like this wild swinging from the chandeliers type of person that, that has sex everywhere with anyone. And that's not the case. Most of sex therapy is understanding relational dynamics, having really strong couples interventions in your back pocket. And then on top of that, understanding everything that needs to be done with specific sexual issues.